inspiration or be strong.
If you're joining us from Arizona, if you're joining us from Croatia, if you're joining us from Greece, we are so absolutely excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us live. If you're watching the recording, thank you for doing that as well. However you're with us, we are glad that you're here. My name is David Hotler, and I'm the community manager at Book Creator, and I'm sort of doing a lot of different things, but one of the things that I do is to work to make an impact by bringing together great minds to think about challenges in education and their potential solutions. And I like doing that because that's the kind of thing that I like to talk about as well. And so one of the best parts about my job is that I get to have one-on-one and small group conversations with incredible educators, their students sometimes. And we have these really fascinating conversations about education and about their lives. And what often comes up are their incredible stories, right? Everyone has amazing stories to share. And in these conversations, I'm always thinking, man, more people need to hear this, right? And so enter stage left, this experiment, Exploring Classroom Connections. It's a new webinar that we're going to try out. We'll try and do this monthly. And the real point here is to explore connecting classrooms through conversations that we have in these webinars, but also by giving a platform to our ambassadors. So our ambassadors are part of our community, and they have sort of raised their hands and said, hey, we have a voice, we have things that we want to share. And we have great solutions and we are really good at implementing them. Hey, give us some platform here. And so we're hosting these webinars, we're bringing ambassadors on with the hope of creating a space that's good for asking questions, getting new ideas, and really finding creative ways to use Book Creator, because our ambassadors are really some of the people using it in the most creative ways. You'll find out here just in a second. So this webinar is sort of a bigger part of a community program that we have at Book Creator, and I'll get to some exciting news about that later. But what I want to do is introduce to you an absolutely vivacious educator, a new friend to me, as you'll find out in a second, and also one of our Book Creator ambassadors, Teraye. Now, Teraye is currently working as a digital learning coach in Newton County schools in the state of Georgia in the USA. Yes. Hi, Teraye. Everyone say hi. Awesome to have you here. We met the first in Philly, yes, right? At the ISTE Live conference.
Yes.
And it was so awesome to see you. You were in the playground space. I want to hear a little bit more about just your experience at ISTE in a second, but I was just so struck by your authentic personality, your welcoming energy, your passion for learning. Everyone watching, you're going to find out just in a second how amazing Teraye is. But tell us a little bit about ISTE, how that experience went, and then, yeah, we'll just kind of roll into what you will have to share with us.
So much. ISTE was a great experience for me. So it's the it's the National Technology Conference. It was my first time going this past summer. And as I had registered for it, a couple of opportunities happened. One, we've been using Book Creator in my county for a while. And so there was an opportunity to share in the Book Creator booth. And my team just said, you know, Teraye has been talking about Book Creator with all the teachers in her school, and we can't get her to stop talking about Book Creator. Maybe she should be the person to come and speak. And I was like, yes, I would love to. I can't stop talking about Book Creator. So I said, yes, please allow me to come and share at the booth. And so I was already doing that. And then right behind that, I got an email that went out to lots of Book Creator ambassadors saying that we're going to have a space where we want educators to have the chance to play with some of the platforms, to just get in there and try some things out. Would you like to be a part of that? And I don't know if you could tell, but I am the type of person that said, yes, I would love to help people play with Book Creator. So even though it was my first time at the conference, the first thing I did when I got there was stand up and talk about Book Creator. It was awesome. I had such a great time just watching people get introduced to Book Creator for the first time, and just to see how simple it is, but at the same time, how impactful it is, it just made my heart sing. So,
well, I got to say, like, I saw you presenting in the playground, what you were talking about. And I don't think it would have mattered what you were talking about. You were so energetic and excited to be there and to be with other teachers who were just interested in learning something new that, gosh, I think you could have been showing them anything. But I think what you talked about a little bit in one of your presentations, what you're going to be talking about today. But before this call, we sort of talked about how in your work across the schools you support, you sort of saw a lack of engaging resources around learning and practicing these high frequency words that we see in these literacy lessons. And so we spoke briefly about a creative solution that you had come up with using Book Creator and some other tools that's now like widely used, what, in your, not just your school, but like it's been
across
like blown
our
up.
county. Yes,
Yeah,
across our
okay.
county. And then in my presentation, I just showed some ways that it has and some places that the books have gone out. I was astounded when I saw what had happened. So,
well, I know you have a little presentation for us. So why don't you
yes.
go ahead, share your screen. I'm so excited to have you on and chat with us about this project that you're working on. But just to remind folks, while Teraye's getting set up, we have a Q&A option where you can post questions. Also, you can use the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat if you want to ask a question there. Or if you just want to make a comment, please feel free to be interacting throughout the entire presentation. So without further ado, let's hear this story.
Well, thank you so much, David. And yes, I am a firm believer in interaction. So please go ahead and fire up those questions and everything. So sight word excitement. So I'm really amazingly grateful for this opportunity to tell our story and to share how what seemed to me at the time to be a tiny step has made such a huge impact across our county for our students and our community and our families. So just like a little bit about me, I am a digital learning coach, which is kind of our term for an instructional technology coach and support in schools. I work with like 4 elementary schools. And before I was a digital learning coach, I was in education. I taught 8th grade for probably 10 years. I've been in for like 25, 26 years at this point. I loved science. I loved getting my hands dirty. We would blow it up. We would fly it. We would race it. Sometimes we would eat it. I just loved science. And while I was teaching science, I was introduced to Book Creator. And I thought, this is amazing. This is it's going to be fantastic. My students are going to create masterpieces with Book Creator. And while I was a teacher, I had some difficulty putting strategies in place to really give my kids a solid foundation and using it. And I couldn't figure out because it was awesome. I just loved it. So when I became a digital learning coach, one of the things I got an opportunity to do was to look at putting some steps in place to scaffold my students into being able, I had such grand ideas about it. I saw immediately how far it could go. And then when I tried it with my 8th grade students, I was like, that didn't do at all what I thought it would do. So fast forward to being a digital learning coach, I'm in lower grades classes and they are talking about these high frequency words. And I remember when my daughter was learning high frequency words and we got lists like these that you see going home, and it was like, okay, practice these words. We're going to have the students recite them. When they know them, we'll just go on to the next list. And my daughter and I kind of had spinning wheels going on. It was just, I knew that there had to be a better way. So now as a digital learning coach, I'm like, this is exactly what a great way to introduce Book Creator to these lower grades. So I designed a set of books for all of the high frequency word lists in our county, where the students would be able to see the word, to hear the word, and to say the word. That was my original idea. Just see it, hear it, and say it. Baby steps. So I wanted to make sure that it was a simple process, right? Book Creator itself, it already lends itself so well to being straightforward and easy for our younger students. So I knew that if we could give them a bit of structure, a scaffolding to come in and experience these words and be able to put their own voice with what they're learning and be able to share that and to have their own pictures in their books saying the word, that could make a difference. So I started. I set up a page, a link where the students and teachers could access the book links whenever they wanted. And our teachers put these on their learning management pages and put links on our single sign-on. And then I went in and I began to do model lessons in the lower grade classes. So I basically would sit down on the carpet at a table, and I would have 5 kindergartners around me with their Chromebooks, and we would just practice going through the steps of getting into Book Creator. And I got an opportunity to look at a lot of the strategies that make the steps to getting in Book Creator for the students smooth and simple. And so I went to different groups. I would do it. And then my goal was to equip our teachers to feel like they could do it as well. So I would do a group, and then I would have the teachers do a group, and I would do that in 3, 4, 5 classes in a building. And then we had, we would do a group, the kids would get it, they would go off to the carpet, they would go off to their own spot, and they would begin to just love to interact with these words. There were so many different ways that they could use Book Creator to practice their words, to learn their words, to hear themselves, and also to share that back home. So the teachers could make a link and put that in a communication, whether it was we use sometimes Remind or Class Dojo or what have you, send that link to the parents, and now the parents and the students are connecting and able to practice those words together and see. And that was just it was a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun. I loved sitting on that carpet. I loved seeing them get excited, watching. There's a countdown before you can say your word, and they would be on the edge, and then all of a sudden it would say zeros. They'd say two. It was fantastic. So that was our experience. And the first time I made these books, the idea just kind of came to me when I was visiting a classroom. So I stepped out in the hallway with my laptop. I just sat down in one of the little kindergarten chairs, and I just started making it and recording in the hallway. My first recordings had classes going to lunch and everything behind it. It was crazy. But I really just wanted to make something quickly that they could use immediately. And then they began to share it. The links were put on more learning management systems. Instructional coaches at schools were sharing it. The curriculum specialists were sharing them in the district plans and so forth. And so now, and then on top of all that, I got an opportunity to share it with Book Creator. I was like, hey, look. And now, as you can see, this is Sight Word Book 1. It's everywhere. I never imagined when I made the first book that there would be this kind of response, but it's really served to show me that lots of people are looking for ways to be creative with the content and give the students a chance to use their voice, to be hands-on in their learning. And so that is my story about our Sight Word Books Creator.
I think the coolest part about that whole story is that, okay, first of all, you were just out to quickly solve a problem with the minimum viable solution that you come up with. You're outside of a kindergarten, you're making noisy recordings. You're just get this out there. And then I've seen the books today. I don't know if you're willing to, maybe if you can pull one up, or what they've definitely come a long way. And then I think the other thing that's really important to point out, and we talk about this all the time when we talk about what Book Creator does to create accessibility, but also to create opportunities for authentic learning. The picture you have showing here is the little analytics page that you get when you publish a book that others can view. And if you see there in the middle, so the stats at the bottom show the number of people who have read it, and in the middle, the number of countries it's been read in, and then on the right there it says remixes. So that means that Teraye has made her books available for others to make a copy of, so that they can then change it and adapt it to their needs within their community. And so that shows a couple of things. One, Teraye's willing to share. Thank you so much. Two, that this can learn and grow and become something bigger. And this is what we talk about when we say the book creator community. Sometimes I think it's hard to give a firm definition of what we mean when we say that, but this is that perfect example. We have creative solutions to common challenges that we're willing to share. So nothing makes you more special to be an ambassador or to sign up in the community than just the willingness to do that. So I don't know, I just wanted to point that I love that it started small and then you just built it and built it and built it, and we can see it growing and changing and being impactful. So
it did. In fact, the sight word books that are connected here are all, when you share a book, you have the option of sharing it privately or publicly. So
right.
None of the links for these books were public links. These were all shared from one person to another, or they went to the they went to the page to click on the link. Nobody searched them on Google per se. But right. One of the things that I did ahead of this, ahead of this was I made a set of books that are publicly shared. So now you can, if you think, oh, I would like to see the book creator books, you can search them. But, that kind of started from zero.
Oh, but, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right. So now I guess we can, get them even farther out. So now they're shareable on a wider scale, which I love. But here are the books. So a lot of teachers would use them just like this. They'll put them up on a screen at the front of the room and they'll click read to me and it'll read through it, or they'll have a student come up and flip through the books and the kids will look at them that way. And that, by itself is a great way to use it, but it wasn't really my intent when I designed it. I really wanted them to be able to interact. But so it just has a way for them to see it and hear it. I don't know if my sound
I see. So you've
sharing.
Recorded yourself. It probably won't, but I think, everyone kind of gets the picture. When she clicks on that little button, you're hearing her say the word so that we get an example. There is a question in the chat. So there was a bit of a comment. Elizabeth says, this kind of makes it a homework fun, or this makes the activity that was kind of dry, kind of more fun, which we know increases engagement. But also she says, can this also be used for weekly spelling lists? The students record the words and upload their own images to match the word. Do they make simple sentences using the words?
100%. I'm really glad you asked that question, because one of the things I was hoping was that now that the students understand and have used Book Creator on this level, it gives them the opportunity to branch out like that. So perhaps you have a kid in kindergarten that came in already knowing their sight word. These high frequency words are so last season, but you can send them with a spelling list or a list of science vocabulary. One of the things I like about this comic format is that when they are editing the book, they can click right here and bring a picture in, bring an image in, right? Just with one or two clicks, which is really fantastic because, small. Also, if you've gotten all the way through the list, I encourage those high flyers to come back and record the book in their own voice. Make your own book, right? Even if it's the same words, now you've made a book that I, as the teacher, can share with another kid. And it's even more engaging when, instead of being a random adult's voice, it's Bob's voice and Bob sits next to me. You know what I'm saying? So I love that opportunity. In fact, a couple of the books in here have my daughter's voice in them. So if it doesn't sound extremely professional, she was in third grade. So, but yes, I just like the opportunity to see, it's not just something that, we can do or I do as a grown-up, but this is an idea, a jumping off point for students to be able to use their own voices and create for themselves.
You're absolutely right. And then the bigger piece there is that there's so many opportunities to remix and make it anew and just like keep building and growing. And that's why we're here. I mean, just listening to you talking, I just started Duolingo for French. I'm like, I want to learn more about French. I was in France recently. I was like,
started Japanese a month ago on Duolingo.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm in there and I'm thinking like the way they've designed this app is unique because I need to be able to say things. I need to be able to hear things. I need to be able to write things. I need to be able to match things. I'm like, this is Book Creator. So, I mean, it's just amazing to think of how it could be used for anyone learning a new language, foreign language learning, all of the whole piece there. So
Yes.
so much growth and potential. Another thing that I wanted to point out, I've seen some of these books where they're practicing the writing
Hmm.
aspect of
Hmm.
the words and letters, and I just recently found out that you can use a Wacom tablet. I don't know if you're familiar with these. They're like real
Yes.
lightweight. A lot of times you see them used in like art, video production, but these, when you have it turned on and you're in the little pen mode, this
Right.
works. So you can actually practice like handwriting inside the pen tool. I think that's just fascinating little
Yes.
tidbit
If
that I just learned about that you can use.
100%. And in fact, once these had kind of saturated one of my schools, I had um, a teacher for students with special needs. The student needed a more um, focused opportunity to practice some of the words. So I can put a link right here and show you. So we made a book where he takes the words and it's the same words, it's the same idea, but now he can listen to the words, he can say the words, he can trace the words, he can write in sentences with the words, he can make sentences out of the images that are there or come up with his own images. And so that gives him a more focused opportunity to practice words, and it all branches out of creativity, from that tiny original kernel of an idea. And that it has really just been a blessing in our county and in our community.
Oh, that's really interesting. I love it. I love that you're sharing all these cool things. Um, Now, I know that you have books that are available. These resources are available to share. And I want to
Yes.
make sure that I share the right link. Do you have it handy? Can we throw it in the
I,
chat for folks?
yes.
I have one in the doc, but we were chit-chatting about if I had the
So
right one. And
I
I want to make
believe
sure I
that
got the
it's the
right one.
right one.
Okay.
I'm going to take it out of the doc and see if I did what I
Yeah.
thought I did.
And while you're doing that, I just want to remind folks that if you registered for this, you will be receiving a follow-up email with links that we're sharing in the chat and all that. So don't stress if you don't have a chance to pull it down out of the chat. And if you're watching the recording, you'll be able to find the link down in the comments section. So scroll down a second there and you'll find the link to the resource that we have here to share in the chat. And we just got a question that came in actually from the Q&A. I see someone raising their hand. If you have a question, please do type it in the chat or use the Q&A and we can read it out loud. The question was, it says, thank you so much for your presentation. You're great. You mentioned specific strategies for easing younger learners into using Book Creator for the first time. I do remember that. Can you share a few of those ideas?
Sure. So when it comes to working with the kindergarten 5-year-old students and they're just getting started for the first time, one of the things that I learned through doing this is keeping them in small groups, right? I have tried to teach almost anything you try to teach to a whole group of 25-year-olds at one time is going to go awry. So giving them the opportunity to have that, small group experience really helps. Also, some of the groundwork for getting into Book Creator is joining a library and knowing how to walk through that process. So I sat down with them. I had my tablet and I would, in different colors, in whatever case of letter they understood best, I would write out the join code. And we would go step by step with that small group, putting those letters and numbers into their computers, staying together with that. And also, I will say this, these remixable books, I know that sometimes we put a book in a library and then we allow the kids to copy it. But using a remixable link helps a lot because in the library, I always turn in the settings, can't read each other's books yet. I can always turn it back on. But if I go ahead and turn that off and they remix a book into that library, the only thing the little see is their very own book.
That's really smart.
Them from trying to click on somebody else's book or trying to click on the teacher book and it won't work, or making a copy and then it doesn't say my book, it says copy of da 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 da.
Right. Yeah.
If they remix this in, it comes in with the right title their own little name underneath it, and it's the only
Oh,
thing they see. So from their perspective, it's a library with just their books in it. The
okay. So let
teacher
me
sees
clarify just
everything.
for anyone who's not familiar with what you're talking about. When you create a library as a teacher, you give it certain settings and then you invite students into it. And one way to invite them into the library is to give them a link to a remixable book that's already in that library, so that when it makes a copy for them, they join that library. And then because you have set that setting up so that they can't see anyone else's books, it looks like just their book is there. And this is the point that I really want to make, because that's so genius, because you are eventually going to want them to see each other's books, but in the
Yes.
beginning, at just the beginning part, there'd be this like flurry of like, oh, I want to go over there and I want to go over here. But I love that strategy of like in the beginning, the library settings might not be the same as they are in the
Right.
end. It's being sort of intentional about that. That's really interesting.
Right. I encourage teachers, when you start out, go ahead and give them the opportunity in just ones and twos to come up with their ideas. And then once there's an array of ideas, we just turn that setting off. Now we can read each other's books, we can collaborate, and we can, use that synergy to get even better. So
Right.
I like that flexibility that it allows to switch over from one setting to the other. And also, I had a thought and it went away. If I think of it again, I will say it.
Well, one thing too that we've noticed people are really excited about is now after you've published a book. So in that process you're talking about sharing the link to the students that they can just click on and make a copy of the book, we've now added a feature that lets you auto-generate a QR code. And so then you can click and it just gives you a QR code right away for that book. And then that sort of changes. We know that QR codes, thanks to how everything flowed out, QR codes are now like totally accepted and widely used. And so we put in that little feature. So super excited about that. Let's see, Tammy, I know second graders are older than kinders, but I made QR codes for the students and taught them how to scan, and they can go directly to their personal pages. Yeah. And now that's another thing. Tammy, I love you. You reminded me. You can now link directly to a page in a book too. So you were talking about collaborating on a book. You can now make sure that each student, and if you really wanted to break that down, but yeah, you could make sure that each student had a link right to their page, which is kind of fun. Also a great way when you're sharing feedback, instead of saying page 15 or whatever, you can just get page 15's link and put that in. And all you have to do is be on that page when you go to share. So
that is
fun stuff.
See, that's what I'm talking about with the community. I am presenting and I'm like, Tammy, that's awesome. Thank you. Now I know a new thing. Okay.
Right. And so that's a good segue to kind of move on. So if you would, can you take the link that you want to share, put it in the chat, and I'll ask you, I'm going to take over. I'm going to share my screen here in just a second. But I want to just thank you for sharing your story, for being open to having a conversation, and to being here with us. To be here with us and just be so open to answering questions and having a good conversation. Like you just said, it is such an amazing part of the community. And really, if it wasn't for that, like had we have ever met, like you were talking about book creator ISTE, and I got excited when I saw you present, and then it was just, and you're an ambassador. So it's just obvious that we met all through this. And so that's really what we're trying to do, and what we talk about when we're talking about the book creator community is about bringing people together. And Teraye, I know that you're an ambassador, but
yes.
Can you tell us, like, when did you apply to be a book? How long have you?
This is my second year as a book creator ambassador. I became so I was a digital learning coach for a year before I applied as an ambassador. So it still feels very new to me to be a part of this, community, and to have people to reach out to. And it's been stupendous.
So, well, we love having you, but I'm interested in hearing a little bit about, because this isn't, you don't have to do this. So you're very much volunteering to share these stories and ideas with other people. And it's not part of your job, but it's certainly parallel to what you do. But I'm curious, just as what inspired you to jump in and sort of volunteer to be someone who's like willing to be called upon to come on to, for example, a showcase webinar and talk a little bit about book creator.
Okay, it's gonna sound strange, but when I thought about book creator ambassadorship, I realized almost immediately that I was already a book creator ambassador. Like I was out in the streets. I was going to my different schools. I was telling them how amazing it was. I was, rallying people to use the opportunity for their students to create. It fits with everything. There's not a single subject I can think of that it doesn't fit with. There's not a grade level that I could come up with that can't be engaged by, like, robustly use book creator. I was like, this is awesome. So I've been doing it. And then I looked at the book creator ambassador opportunity. I was like, yeah, that's me. That's me. Let's make it official.
I love that.
That's just my experience.
I love that you felt called to do it because you felt like it was already part of something that you were already doing. But I would like to hear, because we've thought a lot about what's the value to the teacher to volunteer to us. We want to add value to whatever it is that you're doing in your classroom as well. So can you just speak to a little bit about what, you've been about a year now and you're saying that things are still somewhat new and you're gaining these experiences, but like what can you talk a little about what you have gotten out of this experience?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, knowing that you're a part of a community, knowing that you can reach out to others, seeing different ways that people are using it is fantastic. I really love that. I have a community. So here in my office, I have a couple of book creator ambassadors with me here. And what this does is expand that group. It just makes it larger and a greater pool of people to share with and learn from. Like Tammy just was like, I just learned a new thing right here on the webinar that I was supposed to be teaching things at. I love that. And also opportunities like this, because the opportunities that I got, I feel like happened because I was an ambassador. I don't know that I would have had the opportunity to share at ISTE. I don't know that you would have known that I had a story if I hadn't been an ambassador and gotten the opportunity to let people know about it. So it has allowed me to have a greater voice being an ambassador. And that's just kind of like a model for what Book Creator does for our students as well. So
it's really beautiful.
I feel that it's a rich experience.
I love thinking that having you as part of our ambassador group has inspired you and made your life better as well. That is the biggest compliment I could ever have, being the relatively new community manager at Book Creator. So you have just made my night with that compliment. And I hope that we can continue to do that. And I want to just speak to this other point that you just made about how you opened yourself up. By joining, you opened yourself up to a bigger community of folks that are excited in the way that you are. And looking at that, one of the things that we want to do is we want to bring experiences like what you're having in our community to more people. And we recognize that not everybody is going to identify right off the bat as a book creator ambassador. Like you said, you felt called to be an ambassador because you kind of felt like you already were one. And so with that, drum roll, I'm going to share my screen. Let me pull it up. We're expanding. Yes, we are expanding our community. So we are adding to our program of offerings here, 2 new tiers, so to speak, 2 new pathways to get involved. And that's the collaborator and the champion. And you can see them sitting here side by side with ambassador. And you can sort of think of them as stepping stones to becoming an ambassador, so to speak, in that as you start to get involved, you'll start to see more opportunities come your way, but you're also going to see the resources change, and the types of engagement that we're looking to have with you change as well. So we're really excited to sort of tailor the experience of becoming a passionate educator that leverages Book Creator to the max. We've tailored that experience and sort of chunked it out into these categories. And we're really encouraging folks to get started and find themselves in this space and expand their view of what's possible. So as of right now, the champion and the ambassador applications are going to remain closed. And later this year, we're going to open those up, and stay tuned for those announcements. But for now, you can go right now to bookcreator.com/community, and I'll put that in the chat window if I can find it. This always happens to me when I share my
I
screen.
got you.
I know.
There you go.
Thank you. You can go right now, click on apply. You'll have a little conversation with a little chat bot that we've got. They're going to ask you a few questions. It's going to make sure that you're logged in because really what you need to join the collaborator is you need to have a valid email address from a school, and you need to have at least the free and can have the paid subscription to Book Creator. So just a free account and an email from a school, and you can sign up. And really, by jumping in as a collaborator, you're really deciding to get connected to a diverse group of teachers that use Book Creator in classrooms just like yours that want to learn and share. And I mean, what we just saw with Teraye here is a perfect example of that. And what that you're tapping into is just these creative ideas where creative people are coming together and they want to solve problems. No, Helena, definitely still apply. And we will make sure if something locks you out, you send me an email. That's definitely not a problem. Retired educators should definitely be able to become collaborators as well. So we'll solve that. You can definitely send me an email and we'll take care of that. So, and I want to just sort of show this web page because it's brand new. We're really excited about it, but it has a little bit more information about what comes with signing up and volunteering to be in these spaces. And one of the things you're going to notice here is that you're going to access these resource packs. So I wanted to take a second to show you the resource pack that we're going to be sending out to folks who join the Collaborator community program and just what's inside. So we've got a little welcome message. We've got a badge. So as you saw on the main page here, we're launching 3 new badges for the different tiers. So you'll be able to throw this badge into an email or throw it up on Twitter or show it off in your community. We'll also have a way to customize a certificate. So if you want to use this opportunity to show an administrator that you're getting involved in ed tech space or that you're trying some creative new solutions, we've got a form that you can submit to create this certificate, as well as generate a letter to your administrator that just sort of explains some of the opportunities that you've just opened yourself up to by joining our community. And then the resources. So what I've done here is I decided, let's break these apart. We want to make sure that teachers get access to student-ready resources right off the bat. And so we've added in this book to creative ways of using Book Creator, and we've also got links to libraries and different remixable student-ready resources that you can grab a hold of here. And then we've got some great teacher guides as well. So just creative ways for using Book Creator in these different scenarios, SEL resources, formative assessment, and things like that. And a lot of these resources are generated by some of the community members like Teraye, who are just so absolutely creative and inspiring with their usage of Book Creator. And I'm noticing a couple of questions come in the chat here. So is it necessary to have a school email? I always use my personal email, so I moved schools. No, give it a shot with your Gmail or whatever you're using with Book Creator. You need to have a valid Book Creator account. So if you've got that valid Book Creator account and you're logged in, when you go to apply to become a collaborator, that chatbot's going to see that you're logged in and give you that good to go, and then ask you a couple more questions. And it's seriously like 2 clicks. So don't worry about that. And then if you are watching and you are a current ambassador, nope, you don't need to apply to be a collaborator. We will be having a meeting where I'll share all the resources that we're sending out to the other 2 tiers as well. And if you're interested in becoming a champion or a collaborator, please stay tuned, because we'll be sharing information on when these applications are going to open and more details about what will be inside when you join that different platform or that pathway, so to speak. So we're super, super excited about this. And Teraye, I'm so happy that I was able to have you here to show it off. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. But the big call to action here is to head over to bookcreator.com/community, sign up as a collaborator, scroll up into this awesome chat that's going on here. And I want to copy this as well, because I want to make sure everyone gets a copy of this link one more time to the resources. Oh, where is it? There we go. These are the resources that we shared, or sorry, that Teraye created for us to have and share. So I want to make sure everyone has those. If you register, you'll get an email with all those. If you're watching the recording, check them out in the resources. Please do take a moment to hop over and sign up to become a collaborator. It will be amazing to have you here.
Yes.
And before we wrap everything up, Teraye, is there anything else you'd like to share, to say? And if you would, please leave us with maybe a Twitter handle or some way that everyone can get in touch.
Oh, it just occurs to me that I did have one and I didn't show it on the last page of my book. Yes, I highly recommend starting this process and becoming a collaborator and so forth, because as I said, I have found it to be a rich experience. I've very much appreciate the opportunity to share something that I am passionate about, because it does so much good for our students and our classes and for our teachers to give them authentic experiences, to become authors and to create. And I would love to have you follow me and see all of the cool and fantastic new things that we're doing. My Twitter handle is pretty easy. It's just at Teraye Law. So I'll type it in here. But
Thank you.
I would love, just one T in my name though. I would love to be able to collaborate with my fellow and future ambassadors through Twitter. So I look forward to that. And I really appreciate you all coming from everywhere. You guys talk about a community. It's like a worldwide community, and it's amazing. So thank you for coming from everywhere just to hear my story and our Newton County story.
What a wonderful way to end it. You're just so awesome. I love having you around. Gosh, everyone who works with you, if you're listening to this right now, you are some of the luckiest people because you get to spend all day with this amazing human. Thank you so much for being on. I'm so excited that you came and joined us. And please stay tuned. We're going to be doing these more often. We're going to be bringing on more ambassadors, sharing more great ideas. It was lovely having you, Teraye, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your